we have a Wagner 9190. It's a twin stroke, and this paint sprayer has its pump is going out every time we plug it in and try to paint. Paint comes gushing out this hole more than we're getting paint out the hose. So to be able to fix this problem, we've had to go and order a pump repair kit, and this is the tools it says we're going to need. And according to the instructions, we're going to have to take the front cover off, and we're going to need a star screwdriver on top of that to be able to get it out. There's 4 of the star screws, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom, and that'll give us access to the parts that we need to take out. Oh, by the way, this is a star tool. A lot of times people will mistake these stars for Allen heads. An Allen wrench, maybe if you don't have a star, you can just use a smaller Allen wrench, and sometimes it'll get in there and take it off, but I wouldn't recommend it, because if you strip the screw heads out, you're going to have a hard time taking it apart. My son and I had already taken this unit apart when we were at a job to see what we could do about it, and this was completely caked with paint in here. All these holes were completely full. There was paint all the way up into here, and we had to take a flat screwdriver and a razor knife and clean that all out of there. And then we came home, and that's when we had to find out that we had to get a repair kit to be able to fix this thing. One thing that the paper says is to make sure that this thing is not in its down position, or you'll have a hard time getting things apart. It says if it is, then you need to turn it on to where the piston is actually in an upwards position. Alright, so this one's piston, or the cam, looked like it was in a lower position, so we plugged it in, and we're just going to hit the on switch and see if it'll go in a higher spot. Okay, so it wasn't. Okay, you can see when it comes all the way down, that's when it'd be in a place that you don't want it. See, that was, you cannot take it apart if it's in that position. So you want to keep turning it on and off till you get in an up position, and that's pretty good. Alright, it says, according to the instructions, we need to take out this screw and that washer. Oh, that's a star also. Okay, don't use a screwdriver then. Use a star screwdriver. A good thing to do is try and keep your parts in some kind of organized pattern so that you know where they go. Like I put the screws inside the front cover so that I don't lose them and don't forget where they go. And then this is the screw and the washer that helped hold the cam to its piston. I'll set that in there so I don't lose it. And this here is a dowel pin. You need to pull that out using a pair of pliers. Starting to actually come out. I use the twisting motion to try and break it free. There it is. One thing I think we'll do is we'll take some fine sandpaper and clean that up just so it'll be easier to put back together. Anyway, I'm just using some really fine grit sandpaper. It's 220 grams. 220 grit sandpaper. So I'm just trying to clean some of the dried old paint off of this. And like I said before, this was the dowel pin that holds the cam to the piston. We got to get that piston out because the piston they give you a new one in the kit that's got new seals on it, because that, in my opinion, is probably why it's leaking up here around the piston when it's on. Anyway, I got that somewhat clean. It's a little better than it was. I don't think it's going to take a lot. I'm going to put that in our with our other parts. Inspect the yoke assembly and piston. That would be these. Yeah, they look like they're there. In order to remove all the necessary parts, the piston must not be at the bottom dead center position. Unscrew and remove the inlet valve assembly. That would be 6. That would be at the bottom. I guess we're going to have to use our pliers and try to get this big thing off of here. Okay, I'm using some big adjustable pliers. Breaking that loose. There's that. You can still see our water from cleaning it out the last time. One thing to point out, in the bottom of this thing, you'll see that there's a little ball down inside there. And a lot of times when people are not used to using a paint sprayer, they'll find one day that they'll come out and they'll try and start their pump or the paint sprayer, you know, when the tube is down inside the 5-gallon bucket of paint, and they'll be like, why can't I get prime? Prime means when you set this thing to prime and you're trying to get to draw the paint initially up into the unit, it comes out the hose. And what will happen is that ball will actually be stuck either from rust because the water's sitting in it, or from not being cleaned out good enough. Sometimes paint will be there. Anyway, when this thing is up in there, what you'll do is you'll take your fill tube off, and you just take a screwdriver or something and push it inside that hole, and you just bump that ball in there, and that'll knock it loose so that the unit can be able to start priming itself again. It's a real simple thing. I remember back when I first bought a paint sprayer and I'd never used one before, we couldn't get the thing to prime, and nobody would tell us what was wrong, so we took it to the repair center, and they ended up keeping our pump for a week. They could have just simply told us, knock that ball loose and you'd be fine, but they wanted to be able to charge the manufacturer for just knocking that ball free, which I think they charge them like 80 bucks. So if you find yourself somewhere and you can't get your unit to prime, simple answer, knock that ball loose, and probably 99% of the time that'll get you painting again. So anyway, we'll set that aside and we'll see what's next. It says remove the piston assembly by pushing down on the piston. That would be this. So I guess that thing will push down, and out the bottom it says this is the yoke. Probably get in there with a flat screwdriver, and we should be able to pry that thing down. And that's not as easy as it looks. If we turn it on, it'll push it. It did push it loose some. Back up. Garbage in there. What it is, it gets tight in there, because if it's not tight, the piston won't do its job at all. What it is those rubbers, they're at the bottom, are creating pressure against the sides of the unit. That, and I got garbage over the side of my thing. That's probably not helping. Get a razor knife and we'll clean that up a little bit. So it comes with a new piston. We don't need this one anymore anyway. That paint that's stuck on there is making it so it won't fit through the hole. The reason why the paint's all caked on is because this unit leaks so much. Trying to twist it so I can get to the paint that's stuck on the back side of it. And if you're watching this video, you're probably doing this for the first time just like I am, so it's called trial and error. We're just trying to learn our way through this. Let's tap this thing out of here. There, finally. Okay, that must mean my washers are still up in the hole. There's no washers on that. Anyway, let's see. Unscrew and remove the top nut, which is this big thing. Okay. Squirting some degreaser in there and see if it'll help break it free.